Tom Parker Bowles has had a successful career in the limelight as a food writer. Tom has published cookbooks, he was a restaurant critic for the Mail on Sunday, and has been a judge for various culinary TV shows.
The royal family is in crisis after Queen Camilla's son publicly hurled a stunning insult at Prince William, an attack so bold it sent shockwaves through the monarchy. What was meant to be a private disagreement exploded into a full-blown scandal, with cameras rolling and royal aides scrambling. But it was Prince William's unexpected reaction that truly stunned the world. Calm, vengeful, forgiving. Insiders say his next move flipped the royal script entirely. And now, whispers say Camilla could be on her way out. But what exactly happened? And why now? The night Tom sparked a royal earthquake. It was September 2024, a night wrapped in London's signature fog, the kind that makes even the oldest bricks of Mayfair seem to whisper secrets. Claridge's Hotel, a sanctuary of velvet opulence and royal memories, glowed like a jewel behind the mist. Inside, beneath the soft shimmer of chandeliers and the clink of cutlery against porcelain, the city's elite toasted to literature, legacy, and something far more dangerous. The evening was meant to celebrate the release of Tom Parker Bowles' newest book, a lavish ode to aristocratic cuisine. But those who know how power moves behind palace doors felt it. This wasn't just about food. This was a calculated performance, and Tom was about to serve something colder than champagne. Among the glittering crowd stood Princess Anne, unshaken, poised, wrapped in deep green silk. She hadn't come for toasts or canapes. She had come because she smelled something rotten hiding beneath the pleasantries, an undercurrent that had nothing to do with cooking and everything to do with power. Camilla, ever the strategist, had extended the invitation herself. She stood nearby, smiling, gloved hands folded, sending a message without uttering a word. "My son belongs here." It was a move Anne recognized instantly. Not as a warm gesture, but a warning shot wrapped in civility. Tom, in a finely cut navy suit, took the podium. His voice, smooth but sharpened like a kitchen blade, filled the room. He began with charming anecdotes, culinary nostalgia, then sliced into the heart of the monarchy. "Prince William," he said, pausing as if to savor the moment, "has not been kind to my mother. He treats her like a stranger, like she doesn't exist." Gasps rippled. Champagne froze mid-sip. The cameras blinked furiously. But the most piercing silence came from Anne. Her jaw clenched, her eyes locked onto Tom's like twin blades. She didn't move. She didn't flinch. She didn't have to. One glance from her sent a message clearer than any speech. "You've crossed a line." An aide leaned in, voice trembling. "Your Highness, what do you make of it?" Anne's reply came quietly, but cold enough to still the air. "The son of a dangerous mother." And with that, the velvet mask of the evening began to tear. And what do you think shattered behind those velvet smiles? Loyalty, betrayal, or something darker? Stay tuned, it's just beginning. Whispers of power, echoes of war. By November 2024, Tom Parker Bowles was no longer just the charming food critic with a velvet voice and a refined palate. He had evolved, subtly but deliberately, into a man circling the throne's outer ring. His critiques once stirred kitchens. Now his presence stirred rooms lined with crown portraits and centuries-old secrets. With best-selling books and countless appearances on Britain's cultural stage, Tom had earned his fame. But fame, as the monarchy knows too well, is merely a tool. Power is the real prize. When King Charles III was crowned in May, few noticed the man advising the royal kitchen on coronation cuisine. But Tom's fingerprints were all over the menu, symbolic, elegant, and surprisingly strategic. That assignment gave him access, not just to kitchens, but to royal minds. He mingled with palace staff, exchanged laughter with lords and duchesses, and whispered ambitions behind wine glasses. Those close enough to listen could hear it. He wasn't here just to serve meals. He was tasting influence. In the months that followed, Tom became a regular face at private events.
Queen Camilla's son's new interview about his mother and her decades-long relationship with King Charles. Tom Parker Bowles sharing rare insight into her private life.
Cotswold garden parties, discreet Windsor dinners, even high-level sustainability retreats. In each room, he played the same role: polite, informed, disarming. But underneath it all, his every handshake was a move in a game far bigger than gastronomy. And beside him, always, was the strategist. Queen Camilla, whose decades of survival within Britain's coldest institution had sharpened her instincts, wasn't just proud of her son. She was building him, quietly, carefully. At Clarence House, beneath the soft glow of lamps older than most monarchs, she spoke softly to King Charles. "Tom's always been passionate about the land," she said, painting a gentle portrait of her son's dream to manage a modest Cornish estate. It would give him a purpose, a way to serve something meaningful. Charles, soothed by her tone, agreed without suspicion. Soon, contracts were signed, discreet, untraceable. And Tom was handed the reins to a royal property. But when the headlines exploded on October 19th, "Camilla's son publicly criticizes Prince William," the tone shifted. At Kensington Palace, the newspaper trembled slightly in William's grip. He didn't blink. He didn't shout. But his silence darkened the air. "Who does he think he is?" he muttered. And then came the command. Cold. Director. Dig into everything. And now the question haunts every corridor. Who gave the order to destroy her, and why now? Stay with us. A feast set for power, not blood. By late November 2024, the smoke from Tom Parker Bowles' scandalous remarks still lingered over the royal household. But those inside the palace knew it was no fleeting embarrassment. It was a declaration, one that could no longer be ignored. For Prince William, Tom's words weren't just offensive. They were an incursion, a line crossed, a challenge wrapped in charm and entitlement. And that challenge, if left unchecked, could become a quiet coup. But William wasn't the only one watching. At Sandringham and Windsor, in corridors where secrets often walk louder than footsteps, Princess Anne was quietly gathering intelligence. Her decades inside the palace had sharpened her instinct for deception. And Tom's sudden rise, his management of the Cornish estate, his curated presence at royal summits, had long since raised alarm bells. Now, reports were landing on her desk that turned suspicion into certainty. It wasn't just Cornwall. Tom had been holding discreet meetings with senior members of the Duchy of Cornwall, whispering proposals that promised green reform, but carried the weight of deeper influence. He'd met with wealthy landowners in Gloucestershire. He'd flown, without fanfare, to a centuries-old estate in the Scottish Highlands. Each location is tied not just to history, but to the Crown authority. Each plan offered under the noble veil of sustainability, but Anne could taste the ambition laced beneath every word. The tipping point came in early December. Clarence House, with its centuries-old oak panels and dim, flickering firelight, became the setting for a confrontation years in the making. Anne arrived with a dossier in hand. Thick, detailed, impossible to ignore. Inside, every estate Tom had touched, every back-channel deal Camilla had facilitated, every whisper of influence cloaked in royal protocol. The moment she placed it on the table, the room seemed to freeze. She looked Camilla dead in the eye. "You've brought your son to the feast," she said, her voice sharp as shattered glass. "But this is the table of the crown, not a family dinner." Camilla didn't flinch. That peculiar smile, half regal, half venom, curved onto her lips. She said nothing, but her silence roared louder than words. Anne stood, turned, and left. But as the dossier sat unopened beside Camilla's teacup, a storm was already rising, because Anne now had an ally, one who burned with quiet fury and bore the name of the future king, Prince William. So now, with a sealed dossier and a silent pact, what storm brews between duty and blood? The monarchy won't wait. The pact at Sandringham, December 2024. Sandringham, Norfolk. The royal estate stood swallowed in fog, its sprawling acres blanketed by a winter mist so thick it blurred the lines between reality and omen. The ancient house loomed like a watchtower, its stone face marked by centuries, standing firm against the sharp bite of the north wind. Inside, away from the world's eyes, a meeting was unfolding. Not listed on any schedule, not witnessed by staff, no titles, no ceremony. Just two members of the royal bloodline, Princess Anne and Prince William, were brought together not by protocol, but by necessity. Anne arrived first, silent, composed. Her wool coat was as dark as pine needles, her silver hair pinned with military precision. Her steps echoed through the wooden halls as she entered the old study, where the fireplace hissed and popped. She scanned the room with the calculating calm of someone who'd spent her entire life guarding something sacred. She didn't sit to relax. She anchored herself, as if the chair itself were a war post. Her fingers tightened around the armrests. Her face held no warmth. William entered minutes later. No guards, no aides. The future king wore a modest gray suit, but his presence still carried the weight of a crown. His expression was neutral, almost unreadable, but beneath that surface, something restless stirred. He greeted his aunt with a nod, not formal, not casual. It was a signal. He was ready to listen. Anne spoke first. No small talk, no softened edge. Her voice, seasoned and sure, sliced through the stillness. "Camilla's playing a dangerous game," she said flatly. William listened, his breath steady. But Anne wasn't just updating him. She was warning him. Whisper networks, secret contracts, selective access to estates. Camilla was pulling threads from every direction, and Tom Parker Bowles was at the center of it. Not by blood, not by royal decree, but through backroom manipulation and a mother's careful orchestration. "She's embedding him," Anne said, eyes locked onto her nephews. "Through influence, not lineage. And your father, blinded by love, by fatigue, is letting it happen." William's jaw clenched. The newspaper headlines from weeks earlier, Tom's public insult, still stung. But this was something far more lethal. A long-term infiltration of the very legacy Queen Elizabeth II had devoted her life to protect. He looked to Anne, anger slowly crystallizing into purpose. "What do you want to do?" he asked, low and measured. Anne didn't hesitate. "Use your title, use your reach, quietly, decisively. You are the Prince of Wales. The monarchy answers to you, not to Camilla, and certainly not to her son." William sat still for a moment, letting the words soak into his bones. Then he stood, slowly, as if the ground beneath him had shifted. His nod was small, but final. And as he walked out into the mist-choked air, Anne turned toward the frost-tinted window, her breath fogging the glass. The game was no longer quiet. The war had begun. How did a silent glance spark a royal reckoning? And what secrets froze behind Kensington's glass? Stay glued to uncover everything. The Hidden Purge of Kensington. By the evening of December 12, 2024, a new storm was forming. Not in the press, not in public, but deep within the stone walls of Kensington Palace, beneath its gilded ceilings and watchful ancestral portraits, Prince William sat alone at his oak desk, sleeves rolled back, eyes locked on a stack of confidential documents. The dim golden lamplight flickered against his jawline as he read page after page in silence, while the walls seemed to close in around him. What began at Sandringham as a whispered alliance had now sharpened into a campaign, quiet, clinical, and dangerously precise. Following his meeting with Princess Anne, William wasted no time. His orders, though unspoken to the public, carried the full weight of his title. As Prince of Wales, his grip over the Duchy of Cornwall, a financial empire in itself, gave him more than symbolic power. It gave him the levers of control, and now he was pulling them. That very night, as London's icy streets fell silent beneath the weight of winter fog, William summoned a hand-picked circle of advisors to a private room behind thick velvet curtains. No staff, no leaks, no mistakes. Around the table, senior financial officers, legal minds loyal to the bone, and property managers sworn to the crown. William stood, dressed in a tailored black suit, the firelight casting sharp shadows across his face. "We're restructuring the monarchy," he said, voice low and exact. "Anyone linked to Camilla or Tom is out. No exceptions." It was not a suggestion. It was a directive, and so it began. Over the following weeks, the quiet halls of the royal machine began to shift. One by one, names once seen dining with Camilla or consulting with Tom Parker Bowles vanished from the inner circle. No headlines, no firings. Just gentle removals, reassignments to distant roles, consultancies that never materialized, early retirements with generous severance packages too tempting to refuse. It was a purge disguised as routine transition, executed with the stealth of a silent assassin. Meanwhile, William ordered something far more lethal than public disgrace: a full internal audit. Officially, it was framed as a standard check for transparency across the Duchy of Cornwall and surrounding estates. But those close to the operation knew what it really was: a surgical excavation designed to expose Camilla's financial web. The results were damning. Delivered in a sealed report days before Christmas, the findings painted a picture not of royal efficiency, but quiet exploitation. At the center, Annabel Elliot, Camilla's sister. The audit revealed she had lived rent-free for over a decade in a luxury Gloucester property, an estate meant to generate millions for the duchy. Her title, Chief of Interior Design, stretched across 18 years, came with a salary but no substance. Many of her supposed design projects had either been outsourced or existed only in concept. As William sat reading the final summary under the warm lamp in his study, the calm drained from his face. His hands clenched the edge of the document, knuckles pale. The fury was controlled, but not dormant. "We end this now," he said. And with those words, the monarchy took its first irreversible step into war. But just how far will bloodlines bend before they break? And who cast the first stone in this silent royal war? Keep watching. The first strike lands. December 2024. Long past midnight, inside the silent corridors of Kensington Palace, Prince William meets with his legal team. No pleasantries, no delays. His order is simple and final. Terminate Annabel Elliott's contract immediately. She is to vacate the Gloucester estate within 48 hours. No extensions, no mediation. The prince's words, cold and deliberate, carry the unmistakable weight of a monarchy reclaiming its throne. At that very hour, Annabel sits in the drawing room of the estate she's called home for over a decade. The fire crackles gently beneath oil portraits and velvet drapes, Persian rugs cushioning her every step. A glass of wine rests untouched. Then, her phone vibrates. Once, then again. Her expression falls. The message is brief, brutal. She dials Camilla, voice already trembling. "They're kicking me out." "Camilla." William won't even let me speak. On the other end of the line, Camilla closes her eyes. Her sister's panic slices through her, but her silence is louder. She knows. William has struck with precision and made sure no one will stand in Annabelle's defense. Every voice she once relied on has gone quiet, swept away by Anne's unyielding influence or William's looming authority. This isn't just about one woman losing her title or home. It's a warning, a message written in ink and sealed in silence. The backdoor politics, the quiet privileges, they end here. With Anne watching the board and William making the moves, the purge is no longer hidden. But behind the palace walls, Camilla isn't mourning. She's calculating. The blow has landed, but the war has only just begun. A throne, divided. Soft golden light pours from the crystal chandeliers, casting broken reflections onto Camilla's strained expression. Alone in her private quarters, she clutches the notice confirming Annabelle's abrupt dismissal, sacked, stripped of titles, and removed from the Gloucester estate in less than 48 hours. The brutality of it isn't just shocking, it's surgical, and it rattles her to her core. Camilla had always thrived in the subtle game of palace politics. Her strength was never in open confrontation, but in whispers, in knowing how to bend power without making it break. But now, that power is slipping, and fast. She knows what's at stake. A direct challenge to Prince William or Princess Anne could tear down the careful public image she's spent decades polishing. Number this fight would require a more delicate hand. A cold morning fog clings to the windows as Camilla makes her way to the king's third study. The door creaks softly as she steps in. King Charles III sits slouched in his chair, pale and worn, still recovering from months of treatment. The air is thick with the weight of his silence. The slow tick of an antique clock seems louder than usual, almost accusatory. "Charles?" she says softly, voice trembling just enough to sound sincere. "Why is William doing this? Annabelle meant no harm. She's been loyal. Can you speak to him, please?" The king doesn't look up. His gaze stays fixed on the fireplace. "Camilla," he replies, almost in a whisper, "I've done my part. He's taken the reins now. I don't want more trouble." It's a quiet refusal, but a crushing one. Camilla stands frozen for a moment, then nods, masking her devastation beneath practiced calm. But inside, her fury simmers. She pivots quickly. If the king won't act, others might. Within hours, she dispatches a flurry of private letters, each word carefully chosen, to trusted members of the Privy Council. These are men and women with influence, voices that shape decisions behind palace doors. Her message is clear. Prince William is destabilizing the monarchy with rash actions. The purge of loyal family affiliates, including her sister, could fracture the institution at its core. But what Camilla doesn't know is that her plea arrives far too late. Weeks earlier, Princess Anne had already moved, quietly and efficiently. In secret meetings held across Westminster, she had spoken to the very same Privy Council members. With her calm gravitas and unimpeachable loyalty to the crown, Anne delivered something far more persuasive than emotion: evidence. Financial missteps, shell contracts, and confidential memos all point back to Annabelle Elliott and Tom Parker Bowles. Anne's tone wasn't angry. It was noble. "This isn't about family politics," she told them. "It's about protecting the crown's integrity. If we allow those outside the bloodline to misuse royal influence, we dishonor the Queen's legacy." No one argued. No one needed to. Anne hadn't just countered Camilla. She had erased her from the board before the game even started. Finally, the silence broke the crown. Had Camilla been outplayed from the very beginning? Stay with us. The reckoning isn't over. The Fall of Shadows. By early February 2025, the gilded walls of Windsor Castle, polished to perfection for yet another royal gala, conceal far more than tradition and power. Behind the music, the dancing, and the endless sparkle of diamonds, a quiet purge is tightening its grip, and at the center of it, Camilla is running out of allies. The media firestorm swirling around Tom Parker Bowles refuses to die down. His furious outburst against Prince William, delivered publicly at his book launch just weeks ago, has become the stone that shattered his empire. The press, ever ravenous for blood, unearth his questionable business links, many of which are entwined with royal properties. Once Tom's name lit up the culinary world. Now it's dragged through scandal. Key investors sever ties, deals collapse, and high-end projects crumble like stale pastry. His name, once mentioned alongside Michelin stars, now trends beside disgrace. He's left with empty reservations and a wrecked reputation. Camilla, watching her son sink under the weight of royal retaliation, begins to disappear from view. She pulls out of 3 official engagements in a row, blaming a sudden throat infection. But the tabloids don't buy it. Whispers of a brewing royal feud spread fast. Online forums speculate wildly. Has the Queen's influence finally crumbled? At a royal gala on February 17th, Windsor Castle becomes the backdrop for a power play cloaked in pleasantries. Prince William, composed and commanding in a tailored black suit, works the room like a seasoned statesman. Camilla arrives, dressed in emerald green, her smile poised but brittle. Every step, every glance toward William reminds her of everything she's lost. Her sister Annabelle, her circle of power, and now, her public standing. And then comes the coldest dagger. From the edges of the ballroom, Princess Anne emerges, impeccably dressed, her expression unreadable. She moves toward Camilla with the grace of a dancer, but her words strike like a blade. "Did you think you could bend the crown to your will?" Camilla stutters, her voice barely above a whisper. "I only want what's best for the family." But Anne's reply is ice. "You're not blood." And ambition isn't loyalty. The air thickens. Camilla's champagne glass trembles in her fingers, a few drops slipping onto the marble floor. She wants to answer back, to fight, but nothing comes. The warning lands silently, yet decisively. Anne walks away without a backward glance. Camilla is left standing, not as a queen, but as a woman suddenly aware of her powerlessness. In the weeks that follow, the monarchy shifts. Annabelle Elliot has quietly moved out of the Gloucester estate. No formal statement, no dramatic headlines, just photos, her suitcases packed into an unmarked van, circulating online. The public senses something unspoken has occurred, something that reeks of quiet ruthlessness. Camilla, once the palace's most influential figure, is reduced to an occasional photo op. Her radiant smile is now forced, her eyes dim. Behind closed doors, she's become the ghost of a forgotten war. Tom fades even faster. Once courted by royals and critics alike, he now pens food columns no one reads. The invitations have stopped, the spotlight gone. And yet, as the old guard falls, Anne and William rise. Always polite, always silent, but firm. Together they steady the monarchy, not with press conferences, but by removing threats without spectacle. So what do you think truly drove Anne and William to dismantle Camilla's power silently? Was it loyalty or vengeance? We'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.